Welcome back to All Things Rangers. I am your host, Mark Williams. I am joined by Mr. John Filkowski.
Capo Caco.
And his co-host from the Off the Post podcast, Mr. Anthony LaRocca.
How you doing?
All right. So now it's our segment on the New York Islanders, and I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth for a minute. But the first place New York Islanders. The Islanders crushed the Washington Capitals 8-4 on Thursday night. They beat Philadelphia 3-2 in shootout on Saturday and shut out the Capitals last night 1-0. Anthony, what do you make out of the Islanders' week? Is it showing that they are the big boys in this division?
Yeah, it's funny because I think last week after their two disappointing losses against Pittsburgh, we were talking about, they were feeling the absence of Lee, which don't get me wrong, they still are. But, coming off those losses, comparing them to Washington, because Washington had beat them the prior 3 games, had 2 big games against them. So we were questioning a lot of things, and they just do what they always do. I mean, they regroup after a loss. I think good teams limit losing streaks to 2, if you want to call it that. You can't really get to let it 3 and 4. It can really hurt you and slow you down. So, they came in and they played Washington's game. They played Washington's up-tempo game, which is not typically an Islander style, but they beat them at it. Scored 8 goals, and the impressive thing about it was all 8 goals were even-strength goals, no power play goals. They're a really good 5-on-5 team, and they really brought the game to Washington. Washington got some goals off leaky goals by Varlamov. Their defense wasn't as stellar as it normally is. Again, it's because they played that more wide open style, but in the end they got the 2 points, and then the game against Philly, they played a good game. Yeah, they let Philly come back, make it 2-2, and then they won in a shootout with Sorokin shutting the door on all 3 opportunities, and then Barzal won it. But overall that was a good game. I had really no issues with how they played that game. Philly's trying to be a hungry team now, so you knew they were going to be desperate. And then the game last night was awesome. A lot of people said like a 1-0 game's boring, but it was chances. It had a physicality to it. Good defensive schemes. Seeing the teams really kind of like trying to match each other. And then Islanders opportunistic. They had hard work off the boards. Bailey got the puck up to Pulock. He put a shot on net. Bailey caused a distraction in front, and then Nelson put in the rebound. And then let me tell you, though, I give credit to Vanacek. Vanacek was awesome. If it weren't for him, that game would have been a 4-0 laugher, maybe even 5-0. So he made some really good stops after that Nelson goal too to keep it 1-0. But no, it was a great game, and they played great. And the thing that I love about it the most is that they beat a really good team in Washington 2 different ways. It's like, all right, well, we'll play your style and we'll beat you. And then we'll play the game we're comfortable with, and we'll beat you too. And to me, that just shows the strength of Trotz's system and the belief that the players have in him. And also the belief he has in the players to let them play that up-tempo game in that first game. So great week. Now they got Philly, and then they got 2 big games against the Rangers coming up. So let's keep going on, keep playing the way they're playing. Hopefully Lou brings in some reinforcements come the trade deadline in a couple days, and we'll see what happens.
I agree with Anthony. The way that they beat the Capitals the 2 different times is actually very impressive, because the first game they absolutely came out and just destroyed them, and Matt Barzal had probably the best game of his career. He went from scoring at a 63-point pace to then scoring at a 73-point pace after that game, which is pretty good. And that's probably the highest pace that he scored at in the last 2 years, because he was a 60-point guy in 2019 and then a 60-point guy again last year. But I think he was on pace for close to 70 points last year with the shortened amount of games. With that said, don't expect to get another 8 goals on Washington. I'd be surprised if you got another 5 goals against them. That goes for any team. That's not just the Islanders. Washington's not going to play like that. They're not going to be leaky like that. And Vanacek was awesome against the Rangers for the first 2 periods of the game that they won, the game that the Rangers came back and won against them. And then the Rangers just hit the awesome button in the last 20 minutes of that game. So yeah, Vanacek, Vanacek, if he keeps playing like this, might actually help them go far in the playoffs. To get back to the Islanders, they played a really good set of games against them, and then they faced a Philly team as well that was really desperate for points. And although they let Philly get back into it, they closed that out. The Islanders are looking good right now. I would say that they absolutely need the reinforcements, as you were saying. And I don't think Nick Foligno's your guy. I think you're looking at either Taylor Hall or Kyle Palmieri. Absolutely. That's the one needle mover to me. Kyle Palmieri would move the needle maybe like that. Taylor Hall moves the needle like that. I'm not going to say the whole way because I don't like what I've seen from him this season. He's looked rather disinterested, which I don't blame him for. I mean, really, that team's been a dumpster fire. Like a dumpster fire with 2 tons of gasoline poured on it, and the dumpster is rolling down a San Francisco hill. So that's how that team has been this year.
But this is the Islander team that we were starting to look at about a month ago, and say this team could really win the East and challenge. Obviously they're going to challenge, but they could easily win the East and be in the Final Four. Islanders needed this week. They really did. They got it. They did exactly what they needed to do. Now it's get it going the next week, and you can Rangers, beating the Rangers a couple times, beating the Boston Bruins. I know they got them coming up. That is a very crowded top of the division. Them and the Central. It's almost, my guess is as good as yours to who's going to win this division.
The one thing that for me is, again, they've been playing well with at least this week with Leo Komarov in the lineup. Either Ross Johnston in the lineup on the third line. Kiefer Bells has shuffled in and out. I know Tross isn't thrilled with his complete game, so he gets sat a couple of times, but they're winning with some holes in their lineup, and I think that goes to show you the strength of them down the middle, their centers. How responsible they are and how they all go out and play the same way. And also, too, the defensive structure. I mean, you don't really ever see them give up too many 2-on-1s or odd man rushes because they're always in the right position. They know when to pinch. Some defensemen are a little more aggressive, like Bullock pinches in a lot more than, let's say, Andy Greenwood, but they play a certain way, and it kind of can mask their deficiencies in some ways. And I think that just goes to show, it makes you think, if they have their best lineup out on the ice, how much better they can even be. Arthur Staple had an article today, oddly enough, explaining that since Komarov has been on their line, their Corsi numbers, that line's Corsi numbers have been good. They haven't allowed an even strength goal against, and it's all good, but Komarov still needs to come off the top line. I mean, that's just the facts. He's a Band-Aid right now. And as soon as they get him off and get, Palmieri or Hall or somebody else better on that line, I think it can bring their game to new levels. Because now all of a sudden, Barzal has these zone entries. Now Taylor Hall has the puck. And it just creates a whole different dynamic. So the move is there for the taking. I think if they make that right move, I think they can meet Tampa in the conference finals again.
The one thing I'll say is that, to me, the 1-0 win was the litmus test for the Islanders, because that's the example game you're going to need to play in the playoffs, and that's the Islanders game. So if the Islanders can make the Capitals play their game, I think the Islanders have a much better chance of beating them in a series, especially with their goaltending having question marks, even though I like what I've seen from Vanacek and how good he has been at times. I definitely think the Islanders have the advantage in net with Varlamov, who's experienced and has won playoff series and who took them to the conference finals last year and was 2 games away from bringing them to the Stanley Cup finals. So for me, I think that 1-0 win is far more impressive. Anthony, like you said, a lot of 1-0 games can be categorized as boring by lesser educated fans who really don't watch, and they just look at the score and they say, oh, 1-0, boring. No. When you trade chances like that, and there's a lot of good saves, and there's offense, and the puck is going back and forth, and there's a lot of trade-offs, those can be exciting games, and those are actually prototypical playoff style games. So that's an impressive win over a team that you're going to have to battle for that division and possibly even see in the playoffs. So good on the Islanders for that.
If the playoffs started today, you're looking at, which is in the Eastern Division, you have Peter Laviolette, Stanley Cup, 2006. Barry Trotz, Stanley Cup, 2018. Mike Sullivan, 2 Stanley Cups, the 2 prior years, 2016, 2017. And Butch Cassidy, geez. Bruce Cassidy.
Sundance Kids.
jumping off the cliff. Bruce Cassidy, who went to the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. Name another division with coaching like that. Like, I mean, none. But you're talking about cream of the crop in coaching on the East Division. I can't wait for a playoff to start like that. And who knows? Maybe we replace Butch Cassidy. They did it again. Maybe we replace Bruce Cassidy with David Quinn, another cream of the crop coach. Anthony, take us out of here.
Look, right now, the Islanders are in position to take the division. You know, they're in the mix to win the President's Trophy. I think they're 2 points out of that. I think Florida has that's the 56 points. Islanders are 54 along with Washington. But
I just want a reminder that we do have somebody that predicted the Islanders are going to win the President's Trophy.
They're in a great spot right now. They're in a great spot. Trade deadline 5 days away. They have an opportunity to really take the ball here and just go forward. This is the time to do it. You know, Lou Lamoriello is, he's about 77, 78 years old. So, he sees his team close right now. I don't know how many more years he wants to keep, he wants to keep doing it in the sense of being a GM. I could see him, stepping more into just the president role. Let's say if the Islanders were to win the cup this year, maybe he would do that. But time is now. Time is now for him. Time is now for the team. New building next year. They can do it. They just need, that one piece, maybe that second depth piece, but sky's the limit, man. So we'll see what happens in the next 5 days.
Phil, last word. Do the Islanders win the division?
Right now, I'd have to say yes. I could see Washington going on a ridiculous hot streak, though, and that could be a problem. But I would say right now, probably the Islanders are probably a safe bet.
Mine is still going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. Their schedule is way too easy, and you never sleep on Sidney Crosby-led teams. But what do you think? You think the Islanders are going to win the division? Is it theirs to lose? You think I'm just out of my mind thinking it's not going to be them, or I'm just a hater? You can put it in the comments below how much I'm a hater. It's okay. I'm not. There's more things to hate. But anyway, but also give us a like, share, and subscribe.
Did you like that video? Of course you did. So why not check out some more of our content? You can check the playlist right here or right here.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.